Hello, everyone. This is the Energy Architect. I am Nasira, and I've come out with a new series. It's called the Leadership Series. And let me tell you a little bit about the series. In this series, we'll delve deep into how energy shapes leadership, uncovering principles that empower us to lead with intention, clarity, and authenticity. Now, leadership isn't just about strategy or influence. It's about aligning your inner energy with your outer actions and inspire impact. So join me on this transformative journey as we design a new paradigm of leadership, and one that's rooted in self-awareness, purpose, and the limitless potential of energy. Today, we have with us somebody extremely special. This is Shilpa Ajwani. Hi, Shilpa.
Hey, Nasira. Glad to be here with you today.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to have you on this podcast. So I'm going to give a small introduction. Shilpa Ajwani is the founder and CEO of unomantra, a business strategy consulting and leadership advisory firm. Through unomantra, she enables corporate leaders and entrepreneurs to become future-ready and thrive by aligning strategy with purpose. She is also the founder of SHEmantra, a global community of women entrepreneurs in service-based businesses that is present in over 15 countries today. Shilpa has had an illustrious career with reputed MNCs, and she has earned a rock-solid reputation for a transformational corporate leader and entrepreneur in the last 3 decades. Among the many, many achievements, she has also won the CEO of the Year 2017, conferred by the Economic Times Polymer Awards, while she was leading Tupperware India as the managing director. She is a much sought after speaker, a leadership facilitator, panelist, and industry mentor. Shilpa also sits on the advisory board of Talentnomics India, a not-for-profit organization and purpose-led startups. Thank you, Shilpa. This is quite an introduction, and I know a little bit about you. I can't wait to explore more.
Thank you for this generous introduction, and let's dive in. I'm all excited.
So, Shilpa, you talk about purpose positioning, right? And that is, I've not heard that before. What is it that you wanted to bring out through this?
So the term is positioning, which is a combination of 2 words, purpose and positioning. And this term really was coined by me as I started to do my work in the field of strategy and leadership with corporate leaders, organizations, entrepreneurs. And the whole idea with positioning is that we really together reveal the purpose, and then we create that as your anchor, and then align your brand strategy, your go-to-market strategy, your people strategy around that purpose. And this is so beautiful because suddenly everybody has a shared purpose, and they can then co-create a shared vision from that. And when you have a shared purpose, a shared vision, and alignment when it comes to the different strategic pieces and pillars in your organization, I think life just becomes so much more exciting, inspirational, as well as every day is a day where you know that there will be challenges and change, but you suddenly have strategility That's
Ah,
another term I use, which again got created when I started to see the outcome, what positioning was doing to the various businesses and leaders that I was working with. And to me, I think that gives me just so much of fulfillment and pride in a way when I see the same leaders and organizations thrive very, very differently because purpose is their anchor and they found it and they live it. So that's
mhm.
purpose.
Wow. And you are instrumental in being a North Star for so many leaders, entrepreneurs. You mentor so many women leaders. Curious to know, how did you find yours?
Oh, so I think the purpose reveal exercise is, it's a deep exercise. And when that really happens to you, life cannot remain the same. So there is that sudden joy that you have, which you perhaps last had as a little child. And that's what I started to experience. But the process that I put myself through, I think, was as enriching as the final outcome, Nasira. And I want to talk a little bit, through that. So I think with about 2.5 decades in the corporate world, especially when I got to play CEO for several years, uh, there came a time where I started to feel that, it has been a life of success. And I am deeply, deeply grateful for everything that had been bestowed on me in terms of blessings professionally and personally. But then there was this sudden hunger to know more about, I guess, the deeper questions of life. That who am I really if I'm not a CEO? Who am I really if I'm not a mother? Who am I really if I'm not a professional and operating like one in the world? Minus all those labels that have been given to me, or I have chosen to take them upon myself, if I discard or start discarding, then what really is emerging on the other side? And then the process really is one which is also a little bit painful because it allows you to actually not get satisfied by distracting yourself on what comes easy on the outside, grabbing that, which is so much a part of us, and our conditioning that you do what is expected of you. You do what you read that people who are your stereotype do, and you try to do your best in that. And then we spend our life trying to be the best at that and always trying to say that, okay, what more? Because I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. And suddenly I felt that that game was over for me. And a completely new world was about to open. What that world was, I did not know yet. So I started by asking myself this question that this has been a life of success so far. What would make it a life of significance? And when I started to feel that question inside of me, journal around it, I think so much just started to erupt spontaneously. That was also a time I think I rediscovered meditation and I started to sit in, I would say, long periods of silence just with myself and my thoughts. And that really allowed me to to look inside of myself and to get rid of all that was distracting me. And then when I journaled after that, and I think I wrote pages and pages, um, that's a beautiful way of actually uncovering your purpose. Because when you start to write about your childhood, then your early years, whatever stood out for me, really started to make a lot of sense because suddenly I was able to connect the dots. There were patterns emerging. And when I started to look at my adult life, where I made conscious choices, sometimes unconscious, subconscious ones, I guess, as well. But primarily, what I felt, I had agency and I was making those choices. I started to connect the dots. And through that process, something really started to reveal itself. And then I did interviews with people who knew me fairly well. and they had known me in different stages of my life. And when I started to sort of look at what they were saying and telling me about me, because that was also very important. When we do the purpose exercise, say with my clients, I'm there to support and enable them. But to do it on yourself is difficult because you can never be objective, right? We all grow up with our own narratives, and that always will come in and color some bit of it and not allow you to reveal your purpose authentically. So all this conversation with people who knew me pretty intimately and some not so intimately as well came in very, very handy over there. And then looking at just slowing down my life and allowing the answers to emerge. So that was also very essential, because when we're running around, something as serious as a purpose reveal will not come authentically to you. So when you do it by yourself, which I actually don't really recommend, it takes much longer, it's tougher, and there is some amount of pain and confrontation with your own self involved. That's why it's easier to be held by someone through this whole process. But when it really emerged, what my purpose really, sort of stood out was so different from the life I had led before. And my purpose came out to be that really I'm a teacher who shines your light that is deep inside of you on you. So that really meant that irrespective of who you really are, it's really enabling you to reveal that purpose and then aligning your significant contribution in this world to that purpose. And since my playground had been the world of business, it just very intuitively fell in place. And my work with leaders, teams, organizations, entrepreneurs, and businesses just took off. So that is my process.
Wow, that sounds like such a beautiful journey. So I know the only way to get on top of something is to probably get through it, go right through it. And I think you really went through that entire thing. And, it's not like such a happy place, but we deny ourselves that um, that 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 authenticity by not allowing ourselves to go through that process. And how did you find the strength to push yourself through that? Because you've evolved in so many ways, as you just described that. And how did you get the strength to do that?
So I really feel that, sometimes when you are ready, like they say, when you are ready as a student, the teacher will appear. I think when you're ready for that message to be received, internalized, and integrated with your being, that's the time when if you are attentive enough to listen to that signal and catch it at that moment, you will understand that there's something powerful happening. And I guess, some of it is luck, but some of it is also that inner calling, those frequent dreams, that dissatisfaction with that old life, and the attraction towards what's there in the unknown. I think, so there's a pull, which is very difficult to ignore, especially when you actually start practices like mindfulness, meditation, really, seeing people who just energize you very, very differently and observing their energy and saying that, why is this resonating so much with me? Why am I not able to sort of get my eyes off this, or not read this or ignore this? And I think I was, I guess, just sensible to not ignore that signal and say I'm ready and bring it on. So that's one part of it, I guess. But the other is that when you go through also the pain and you want to stay authentically on the path, you need to be surrounded by people who may not understand what you're going through, but you know that you are supported and you are loved for whoever you are becoming. Yeah. So recently I read something very beautiful in a book called A Shift in Being. So, and it really describes wonderfully about the fact that how the caterpillar actually has to die its own death for the butterfly to fly out of that cocoon one day. And all this while, I think I've been imagining that somehow that caterpillar really becomes the butterfly. But no, there is death involved. And that caterpillar is, I mean, it destroys itself completely. But it has something called imaginal cells, which stay. And there's this butterfly who's trying to come to life, but this caterpillar is constantly killing those, imaginal cells as well. But in the end, the butterfly wins, and it is created out of hundreds and hundreds of those cells to really become this beautiful butterfly and fly off. So I guess that process of letting go of the old you and embracing the new you just has to happen. And thankfully, I stood very resilient and did not, give in to distractions, to fear, and naysayers in the process as well.
Thank you. That was such a beautiful explanation. Because yes, the caterpillar believes it's going to die, not knowing that the butterfly is actually supposed to emerge. And it is that same caterpillar, but it just doesn't know. And I know you are such an enabler because I have seen you build communities where women are lifting each other up, just supporting each other. They are teaching each other. They're helping them overcome something. They are, they really like, you feel like I've got you, and it's so much like that butterfly that you just explained.
Mm.
And you are such an enabler in that sense, where you are really helping people find their wings, discover their wings, and showing them, like you mentioned, showing them that they can actually take off.
Absolutely. And why not, Nashira? Because, again, the tagline of the community SHEmantra, which you spoke about a while ago in the introduction, it's a community of some very talented, amazing women entrepreneurs like yourself, who are in service-based businesses and really serving from the heart. And we say that SHEmantra is your space to play your purpose. And that's where there is a constant endeavor. It's now in the culture so much. And I'm just, again, in such gratitude that people operate from that abundance mindset, to ensure that there is holistic growth, personal and professional, in a safe environment, so that each one of us can play our purpose and play a much bigger game than if we were to just try and do it all by ourselves. So that's the power of community. But a community that thrives on an abundance mindset, I think that's a gift for all of us in our lives. And I'm just happy that I am a medium and a catalyst who could bring all of us together.
Right. And something that I noticed is creativity. You are just oozing with creativity. You allow that to flow through you. That is something you said when you went deep within. That is what like emerged. Was that a part of who you were becoming?
Such an interesting question. So my name is really Shilpa, and in a way it means, so a Shilpi is a male sculptor, right? And I think somewhere there is that energy from the name that you derive of creating things, of enabling, shaping, nurturing, allowing, something new and valuable to emerge out of something which is perhaps nothing, just maybe a germ of an idea initially. And you're right. When I did this whole exercise of revealing my purpose to myself, that's really the time where I could sense that, for me, purpose is really unleashing that creative, intuitive energy in you out there into the universe, and just allowing that uninhibited self to express, because suddenly you know why you are here. You get it. And then there is ease, there is confidence, there is joy, there is a sense of freedom, there is, peace. So all of these things really start to come around, even when one is doing work which is so much in line with, you know, um, the world which I somewhere left behind, but I still embrace by working on it very differently. That is the corporate world and the world of business, right? But this is something just so beautiful because the approach is so different, and that's why I say the creative, intuitive energy just unleashing is one of the most magical experiences somebody can have. I had it.
I have to agree with you because that is the truest form of energy. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be transmuted. And energy always has to be in a state of flow, which is why when you say that when you reach to this point of this, really touching and exploring this authentic self, when you bring that out from inside of you, okay, what also flows out is everything else that you were meant to be. And that is energy in its purest form, because energy always has to flow like a dance or like martial arts. It's energy. It has to flow. It will be in a state of flow. And what a beautiful, that's such a beautiful point that you just touched upon. Thank you so much for that. Um, Shilpa, purpose powers performance, right? This is what you stand by. And how is it that you bring energy into that purpose to drive personal and organizational growth?
So, firstly, I love the connection between energy and leadership and strategy because, it's all to do with people, ideas, and the desire to create more value in a more sustainable, joyful way. So to me, that's already an automatic connect between these three words, which are my life. So energy, leadership, strategy, but everything really neatly connects again together when that sense of purpose is what anchors them. And like you said, energy can't be destroyed, and it's always flowing. But imagine if you are an organization and you have all these different people who come to work for you every day, and they come with dissipated energies, or they come to work with a victim energy instead of a victor energy, right? Or they come to work with energies that are colliding, and they are competitive and brutal. And I can win only if you lose kind of a mentality energy, but not really the energy that will harness that growth for you and allow you to be sustainable, which can only happen when there is true collaboration. And true collaboration can only happen when there is trust at the foundation of it. And how do you really inspire trust? When all of you really feel like you are in the same team, right? And for you to do that, you need to really be someone who is very sure of who you are, what do you bring to the table. Also, when you get something, it doesn't have to mean honestly have to snatch it from somebody else. It could mean that, you could be that enabler who enables everybody to thrive together. And that's at the unit, the basic unit, which is each employee in the organization. So I think the energy with which they come to work, the way they can lead themselves personally and consequently professionally, is what really combines together and creates that explosive energy which either propels an organization forward or really allows it a pack of cards to just start to come down, sometimes very, very quickly as well. And it's really about each person there feeling secure, feeling like they are trustworthy and they can trust the other, feeling like they know why they work in that organization, and why does their work matter, why do they matter. And once you're sure of that contribution and why that contribution really is valuable, and you feel valued in turn, which can only happen when the leadership in the organization is all, working around a shared purpose and valuing everybody else, and working from and operating from that sense of humility, right? That's how you really start to see magical experiences happen. And that's where the core of my work is both personal and professional leadership and strategy work, because it has to start with self leadership, go on to team leadership, and then organizational leadership, right? And similarly, when you talk about strategy, it is to really have a life by design and not by default in terms of your personal strategy of the life you are creating. And that then translates into your interaction and the work that you do with people, all your social connections, which leads to your social well-being, right? And when you operate from that sense of well-being, imagine what you will do, when you are in a family situation, when you are in your neighborhood, and certainly when you are inside of your organization. So it cannot be that we come into an organization incomplete, beaten, and distracted, disengaged, stressed, overwhelmed, or burnt, and do our best. That's not happening. And that's why if I fix this, the organizational success, of course, with the right strategy there as well, that's a great combination.
Right. Yeah. Well, like you said, quite depleted. Yeah. It is important for leaders to understand, something that we probably don't learn in business school. But of course, business schools are now coming up with, the mindfulness and stuff like that. But we are conditioned to be, competitive, aggressive. It's the leadership, right? It is those qualities that really trickle down, onto teams, and you lead through example. You lead, and I believe that is the most powerful way to lead. When your energy actually affects everybody else's energy, so you can either drain people and deplete them, because of your own energy, or you can empower them because of what you radiate, what you practice, how you show up, and what you're infusing into the system. And I see how an organization like that will thrive. That those are organizations that are high spirited and collaborative, and they live that. It's like a great place to be in, because everybody feels it, everybody's pumped up, everybody's excited. And we need more leaders like that, who really infuse that kind of energy into their teams and into their organizations. Now I have something that I'd like to ask you, as like a woman to woman, as a woman leader who believes that purpose powers performance. How have you used your own energy and purpose to not only succeed, but to also establish and hold your place as a leader? Because women have their own challenges. And how did you surf through that?
So I honestly feel that, one thing which made it easier for me perhaps was the fact that for the longest time, I just didn't see myself as a woman leader. Even though I might have been treated differently or faced a lot of bias, I think my own sense of purpose and what I was doing and why I was, that sense of why was I in that organization. I think since that perhaps even at an unconscious level was so paramount in everything that I was doing and showing up as, that for the longest time a lot of these things didn't really feel that they would be successful in pulling me down or getting me defocused from the bigger task that I had taken upon myself. And it was very interesting because I looked at my career, my entire career, with me being an intrapreneur, right? And I empowered myself, didn't really wait for that to come from anyone else. And to me, that comes, I guess, from a sense of strong values, which I'm blessed to have received from childhood, from my parents, teachers, the other influences around me. And that kept me grounded. And that also gave me safety. And yes, there were instances where maybe the organization or the conditions that were created at a particular time tried to snatch away that safety, but I could very quickly, exhibit my resilience and come back to the center and not be away from it too long. And then suddenly it made sense, and I allowed myself to forge forward. So that's where I, speak with a lot of women today. I'm speaking at conferences, I'm on different panels, mentoring a whole lot of very senior women leaders. And I do sense that there is, of course, a lot of bias, both at home, at the workplace, in society in general, that they're dealing with all the time. Society hasn't moved as fast in undoing its own conditioning, which is not in favor of women standing as equals, seizing opportunities in an equitable way, and really sometimes voices are shut. Even though physically you might see some more women at the table, at the leadership table, but are they allowed to really use their voice the way they should as an equal sitting on that table? And that's where I think a lot of work needs to be done at the societal level, at the organizational level, and also by women themselves. Because till we allow ourselves to look in the mirror and say, I'm not really good enough, or I'm not ready, or who am I to even think about playing it big? Or only if I had done this, then I deserve to get that. I think if we are constantly telling ourselves things that hold us back and don't respect our own uniqueness, our own talents, skills, the beauty that is in us, around us, I think we will do ourselves, the biggest disfavor. Because again, energy, right? So if you don't respect yourself, others catch it, and they see that as your vulnerability, and then you are easy to be shut down, to be denied opportunities, and to be kept in your place.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because you've told
Yeah.
them at that time, I'm comfortable in this place. I may not like it, but it's still comfortable versus opening myself up to more exposure or danger, because that's a new playground for me, and I don't know what the rules are there. I'm not yet ready, so I'd rather be here in this little corner and then just be. So people sense
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more, because I know so many women who are so capable, but this imposter syndrome of, can I really do that? Am I really, is it even possible? Is it a possibility? The way they second guess themselves. Uh, you'll see so many women almost getting to like number two, but they won't get that number one. Something holds them back. Something holds them back. And it's time that women wake up to this, to their own imposter syndrome, and they do something about it. And they realize, that they are good enough.
Yeah.
And that is how leaders like you, I say, are so enabling and empowering. And if you are creating a legacy for yourself, I'm not surprised why.
Thank you. I also, feel for a lot of women, especially the ones who are still in the junior to the middle rungs in the corporate, or are just starting out as entrepreneurs on their own, they don't have role models, too many role models they can look up to. And when we look around and we don't see too many people who look like us, we suddenly feel intimidated, because there immediately comes a disconnect. And the reverse also happens when you do see competent women playing the game by their own rules, safeguarding their femininity, not losing themselves in the process, and yet producing some amazing results while taking care of the people who are in their charge, as Simon Sinek says. That's what a leader is, right? So you take care of people who are in your charge. You are not in
Mhm.
charge. So if you are able to do all that while being who you are and not getting influenced by how you are meant to show up as. And like you just said, organizations typically have been competitive and in a way brutal, because that sense of producing results at any cost was the reason why the organization thought it existed. And they thought that results could only come when you put one against the other. You're fighting constantly, sometimes competitors, external forces, voices within your own organization, voices resisting change within the organization. So it all was about might and speed, and all of those things which just crushed the personal spirit in a way. And that's where women just didn't have a chance. They didn't have enough people who looked like them. The rules by which the game was being played was not familiar or didn't feel authentic to them. And when they tried to show up as someone they were not, operating more out of their masculine energy, then they just became, you know, unrecognizable. And then they weren't even the women other women would relate with. In fact, they hated them, and yet they didn't fit into the boys club in spite of all their hard efforts. So it left them in a very lonely, vulnerable, sad state. Though the facade was good and the title was there and the perks were really solid, but I think there was a lot of hollow for women who had to operate out of just survival in that capacity with that energy. And the moment you will allow more women to show up in their own authentic energy, I think organizations will be just so much better off. Yeah, the way we'll work will just change completely.
Imagine that you've always learned that I'm not good enough, and then you go back to the workplace, and then you go with that belief that you're not good enough, and breaking that pattern is so important. To recognize that, and to take action at that point when you self sabotage yourself, to recognize that point. I think that is such a a game changer. And that can come through awareness and really connecting with yourself at a very, very deep level.
I agree, because to me, the awareness is the start of everything else, right? Till the time you yourself don't make the time to understand what's happening with you, around you, inside of you. How will you know if it's good for you or not? And if it's not, then feel empowered to change to what you think is more desirable. I don't even look at things as good or bad. I think it's more about whether it's desirable or not so desirable for me. Because what's good for me could be bad for you, and vice versa, Nasira. And I think when we start to look at, okay, what's the kind of life that's desirable for me? What's the kind of career that's desirable for me? What are the kind of relationships that are desirable for me? And operate from that awareness, and then assess as the second step as to where am I in each of these, and how am I doing, and what is the change, if at all, that I would like to make. And from that assessment, really align that action that comes from that awareness, assessment, and then action, the three A's. I think that really becomes a powerful framework of really moving forward, but much more intentionally, than just being reactive when it just becomes so difficult to take it any longer. That's where you rebel and you change, but that's an external force making you change. It's not really coming from within you. So
Yeah.
it starts with awareness.
Yeah. And I love the way you put in this thing about awareness. You integrate that with your intention, you align it with your purpose, and you create that path to move ahead. When you say like you are a North Star, okay, yeah, you live that. Shilpa, what would be your advice to young leaders starting off on their leadership journey?
I would say this is an exciting time to be a leader. It's also a challenging time to be a leader, because the world is changing at the fastest speed we've sort of experienced in ages. But we have an extremely smart and talented and purposeful generation, especially if you look at millennials and Gen Z. They are all about purpose. So what I would tell them is that you know constantly work on adding value to yourself and others around you, and that should be the first priority, because these are the years that the more you roll up your sleeves and you're ready to get into experiencing every little thing that life is offering you and work is offering you, and give it your best and allow yourself to be worn out in some ways, right? But in a good way. But here they are smart, so they are very careful about work-life balance. They are conscious of it from a very young age. But this is the time to bring those practices and even influence the people on top who may still be a little bit old-fashioned. That work is work and life is life. To really, come and influence the organization with their energy, their positivity, their sense of purpose, but really concentrate that energy on creating value for yourself and for the organization, and stay at it. At the same time, start to look at each experience that comes to you a little bit more closely and a little bit more carefully, because somewhere, if you've not yet discovered your purpose, and it's not necessary that every one of us will know our purpose at 18 and then go into the world. We could be 50 and still be searching and then find it, which is absolutely fine too. But there are always these little signals around you, and you just have to be open to receiving them, analyzing them, and saying, wow, this is what I love to do, and I think I can be really good at doing this. And those could be clues ultimately, which could combine your purpose with your life strategy, which ultimately then dovetails to your work strategy as well. So add value and give value.
Positioning.
Yes.
I love that. There was another word that you mentioned, purpositioning, and there was one more, strategy,
Strategility. So strategy is the
strategility.
agility to, yes, constantly look at what can I do, the tweaks, the tactics that need to constantly be looked at so that you become also future ready. And the work that I do is to enable leaders and entrepreneurs to look at thriving today and thriving tomorrow. So for that, you need to be future ready. And strategility is extremely important as well. So purpositioning leading to strategility, I
Yeah,
would say. Yes.
that's lovely. Shilpa, I can't tell you how much fun I've had talking to you. It was so insightful. It was so inspiring. Um, Really, more power to you because when I see you really putting yourself out there, it is the truest, most authentic form of leadership that I have seen, and I really want to compliment you on that.
Thank you so much. This is ooh, heartwarming. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sure a lot of people would, listening to us, watching us today, have insights, and I'm sure if there is a button to switch on and switch off, I am sure one switch on button has happened somewhere. So thank you so much.
I'm so glad, and that would make both of us really happy because that was the purpose of our conversation, right? And that would have positioned that neatly. So we want really that light inside of people to be shown on them so that they can really marry their purpose to their most significant contribution in this world. And let's have more of that, Nasira. And more power to you too for bringing in different eclectic voices, leadership styles, and just so much valuable information to your audience. This is a labor of love, and I know you do it with such a good heart. And this is your calling. This is your purpose. So good
It
luck.
is. Thank you so much. You echoed what I feel very, very strongly and deeply. I know that this is my purpose to help people get unstuck, and with collaborating with enablers like you. I know that I'm on my way, and I'm doing my work, what I was meant to do.
More power to you. Go,
Thank
Nasira.
you. Thank you, Shilpa, for being here with us and talking to us today. Extremely insightful, extremely valuable. And I'm going to say bye from my side now, and we will be back again. Uh, this is the Energy Architect signing off. Thank you. Thank you. Atma Namaste.
Thank you.